Hey there, YouTubers. Selena checking in with an actual video using myself as the visual. Not my favorite thing to do. Anyway, I was thinking this morning about the situation that the world has been put into recently. And I would just like to say that I'm pretty sure no one consented to this except the higher ups, the powers that shouldn't be, as I like to say. But we the people, I'm pretty sure most of us are not agreeing with the recent events going on in other countries. But besides that, I got to thinking about what are we going to do? What are people going to do with what's coming our way? And it's going to be a radical change, I think, than our generations have seen in quite a while, and actually most generations have never seen. And that is the shortages that will be akin to the Great Depression and will affect most households, unless you're really ultra wealthy, and the majority of us are not. We're just trying to live our lives like other people are around the world and want to be connected with our family, our friends, and our culture, and what makes us unique to where we live. And that led me down the path of, remember when my Aunt Alice, really a grandmother to me, but not biologically, I started thinking about her. She was one of the most influential people in my life. She saved me as a child from a very turbulent childhood. And the story is this: my grandmother, who's schizophrenic, no longer with us, walked my brother and I to church. Was miles away because grandma liked to walk for miles, and growing up in her generation, that was not a big deal. That was normal. She took us to this beautiful church and knocked on the door, because back then there was big wooden doors, very old, historic church basically, and knocked on the doors, and Alice appeared. I was terrified. My little brother was terrified. And Grandma basically left us. She said she would be back when church was over and would pick us up. And when Alice heard where we were living, we were new to the area, from Florida no less, so it was shockingly different than what we were used to, being born where I was, and where I had been born. And Alice said, "We'll gladly bring the children home." Thankfully, we were so relieved that this little old lady with white hair was taking us under her wing. And both my brother and I experienced Alice at different times, interestingly. I was under her wing for a while, and then as I grew older and circumstances changed, beyond my wishes or say in it, I had no say in it, she then directed her, and rightfully so, her attention to my brother, which I only found out recently, that we shared experiences with her, but very unique to us. What I love about remembering Alice is her old way of living. It was so foreign to me, having grown up in a more urban setting, especially in Florida, with the communities in more populated areas. Even in the countryside of Florida, in state, we still had more than where we were in this county. Ruh-roh. I thought I missed my turn, but now I'm distracted, but I'm good. So her way of living is what got me thinking today, what did she do what did her family do to survive? They didn't have power equipment. They barely had telephones. Right, that came on later, from when she was a child. And the things that were different and striking to me and imprinted in me to become who I am now, somewhat of a prepper, although I don't know about that term. I think it's just being aware and situationally ready as best as we can. But she had a cold storage. It wasn't quite a basement. It was not really a cellar. She called it the root cellar. And I'll never forget when she first showed it to me. And you literally had to duck down and go into a smaller doorway, because back then people were smaller, homes were built smaller, often added onto, but originally, the original frame was smaller. And going in there and seeing all the food she had, I was floored. I was growing up hungry and in poverty. And here's this little old lady, and she lived with her non-biological brother, who back then, families often sent their children to other families to work the farms or what other areas they needed help in. And that's how children survived. And that works. So her and her brother continued this lifestyle together. Alice lost her husband early on, tragically just several months after they were married. Young in love couple. He was going on a fire call. This had to be back in the 40s, I would imagine. She's no longer here for me to talk to, obviously. So I'm recalling on a childhood memory. But he went on a fire call, and he was in the back truck, and back then they were connected to the driving truck, and the side swung out and flipped over, and he was instantly killed. She never remarried because she was so in love with him. No one could replace him, never had children. Hence why when she met my brother and I, she often said, "You are my children." And she taught me about so many life skills that have carried forward today, and that's what I'm thinking about. What can we do? What will I do? What have I done? What can you do? She had canned foods, preserves, cheeses in there. Pretty much anything you could think of. And when she cooked on a stove that had a fire in it. It was also, I believe, a gas stove, part gas stove, and somehow I recall that she also had a flame. I'm not sure how that worked. My memory could be sketchy, but I remember there being starting the stove was a thing. And she would cook a meal that would last. She used every bit of that chicken, every bit of that roast, and she had it planned so that she didn't need a lot of things from the store. She made use of everything. Not only did she cook the chicken, but she reused everything. The broth from the bones, the fat for cooking other things. And I'll never forget the comfort of that homemade food. She also had a garden. I learned to fish in the creek as they say, and it was absolutely the best years of my life. And on Sundays after church, we would drive around and visit the shut-ins, her elderly friends that could no longer go to church and needed a little help. And she brought me along to be helpful with her and show me the way of community. So my job would be maybe bringing in the newspaper. I learned to mow, pick grapes, sit with them and learn their stories. And these are things that we can carry through today in turbulent times. We can learn to buy less junk and things that we can reuse and make more meals out of one item, one roast, one chicken, and so on. And a lot of times we didn't have big portions of meat. we had meat and vegetables, which really stretched out the meal. And when the meat started to run down, then we had sandwiches with the meat. And these are things that we can implement today. Little changes that go a long way. We can learn to reuse that bar of soap. We often throw out the sliver. I don't personally, because I'm scrappy like that. Speaking of scraps, take that scrap of soap and save it. She used to save everything till she had enough to wad into a new ball of soap, and then we used that. She was so old school that I was not allowed to go down the staircase at night because it was so narrow. She was certain I was going to tumble down, and we used a chamber pot. I was horrified at first, but eventually there would come times where I just couldn't hold it, and I did not want to be in trouble with her. She was my lifesaver, and I was not going to disobey her. She also did practices of bird baths, and that you took one bath a week, and that would be on Saturdays before church, similar to the Amish. I'm not saying we have to do that, but as electric rates go up and the cost of everything goes up now, we will be keenly aware if we're financially tight, which most of us will be, on our resources and the lack of it or the expense of it. And little changes can go a long way, and it's a mindset. And rather than freaking out and running to the store and buying all kinds of things right now, let's be practical. Let's be prudent. Buy your soap. Buy your bleach. Buy meat from your local farmer when you can. It's much better quality. If you're not into gardening, I'm not into vegetable gardening. I tried it, and it really is not my cup of tea. I don't like dealing with the rabbits, the insects, the birds, the weather. There's too many variables that I cannot control, and that does not jive with me. But you can join a CSA. You can support your local farmers by going to farm markets and learning to shop locally. That's how you can weather the storm. And that's going to go on for quite a while. And with the pharmaceutical shortages coming, let us all be aware that there was a time in modern history that we were not suffering from the disease that we have today. And that's because our lifestyle was simpler. We learned to use everything we had. At that time, our grandparents knew how to fix things. Women knew how to sew. Men fixed and repaired machinery. They did the hard labor. And you don't have to garden. You can go and get what you need, make do with it, learn to make soups and broths and use everything, even the skins of your onions and carrots and things you normally throw out. That makes a great broth. And if not for you, if you have pets, we have dogs and cats, they have a very natural diet and they're in excellent health, minus the one that was a rescue and came to me later in life. Her teeth are rotted. She came to me with a bag of very cheap kibble, which I immediately took away, and she has stabilized. She's lost some teeth, unfortunately, and her teeth are still rotting. There's nothing I can do about that, but otherwise she is healthy and happy. There is so much you can give your pets to ease the cost of pet food going up. And remember, there was a time that we didn't rely on pharmaceuticals. You can plant herbs, you can learn what's growing around you, and use that to help care for yourself. And by reducing consumption of processed foods and making your own, you will get healthier. Eating less carbs, it's going to be okay. You will survive. You don't need them. The only carbs you would need, really, some potatoes maybe. Get some rice. Let your vegetables and what is growing around you, even the wild ones, let that be your source of nutrition and your source of health. I personally dropped a lot of weight multiple times in my life when I Pay attention to what I'm eating, what I'm consuming, what I'm putting on my body. I do not use what other people use, and I don't have the health conditions that other people have. No medications, no doctor's appointments. Knock on wood. And Alice was the same way. I don't remember her or Frank going to the doctor ever. They went for glasses. Ruh-roh. And I'm glad I don't do a lot of truck talks. It can be done. It's going to be hard. You tell your employers that maybe you're not going to drive all over the place for them. When you're working from home, remember you're using your electric and you're paying more for it. I'm not saying you can do anything about it. You know, maybe you can't fight big corporation. But you can make a stand as best you can and limit your time, potentially. Be mindful of electric hogs that run even when you're sleeping. I have a practice of turning everything off that I can because that's what I was taught to do by Alice. We didn't leave lights on. We didn't have microwaves and all these other gadgets running all the time. Ruh-roh. That's life in the North Country. Why pave a road when, you could just go around the potholes? Maybe. I'm not making it up. There's really nowhere to go. Do these things. It is scary. It's terrible what's going on. And remember, we didn't consent. And I hope around the world other people are feeling the same way. It's turbulent times. But maybe it's going to be okay to consume less and waste less and pollute our planet less. We can take care of ourselves. We are not living in the 18 and 1500s, and it will be difficult for a lot of people. But don't be afraid to change and embrace what you can do for yourself. And obviously, it's not going to be a walk in the park. I'm stressed out about it a little bit because my list is long of the herbs and things that I would love to purchase right now so that I can continue to take care of myself and my girls and my animals. And remember, you are what you eat. If you have the ability to raise your own chickens, as hard as it is, do your research. Take a chance and try it. The worst that could happen is that you learned that you don't like it and it's not your cup of tea. But be ready and be aware and trust in yourself that we can unite and get through this. Raise our voice and say, we do not consent, and enough is enough. Me personally, I'm tired of trashing the planet just by my mere existence. And if enough of us continue to do so and go forth with a strong mind, I think a lot of us can be okay with that. I could be wrong. I hope that it will work out and be okay. And I know that the shortage of pharmaceuticals and helium and aluminum is going to be a radical change for everyone. But maybe that's the wake up we really need. And let's remember our relatives from a long time ago. They went through the Great Depression because they were savvy. They were resourceful, and they were independent, and they bonded with community. They relied on each other. I remember back in the day, you could go and ask your neighbor for a cup of sugar, and in exchange for flour or eggs at another point. And when I was a kid, I was learning to build go-karts and things like that, and those are the memories I hold on to, and I trust that I can get through this and you can get through it. And let's remember the old times and what they would have done, because it's here and it's hyper here. It's going to be unlike anything our generations have gone through. And let's go in it with open eyes and clarity of what we can do for ourselves. And maybe it's better that we don't trust what the powers that shouldn't be say that we need, and we trust what our bodies are really craving, and that is sunlight, air, like fresh, clean air, if you're fortunate enough to be out of an urban area, and the basics. Love your community, love yourself, love your family, and it's okay to tighten your belts and close the wallet and say, not today. Let's reuse that little sliver of soap to the very end and make it through for another time, you know. With that, I'm off to my next person who I adore. He's a handful, but I love him. And I'll check in at another time when I'm feeling brave enough. This is Remember When Stories, and this is Selena saying thanks for checking in, and bye for now.